Of the starters, who stood out to you? For me, it was Bryan Woo. And he's the guy I was most excited about coming into the season, just based on what we saw from him last year, sub-3 ERA. He's got such an easy, smooth delivery, and the ball just seems to pop out of his hands, and he's looked great. And to the Rangers' credit, they made every pitcher work hard in the first inning, whether they're throwing 26, 27, 28 pitches. I mean, just each starter in that series had a rough first inning in terms of how many pitches they threw. But what's your take on what you've seen from Woo so far?
Man, super impressive after that last start. You mentioned the first inning, right? So he comes out, and obviously the book's going to be out on him. Guy's going to be really aggressive. What he does with 2 strikes, he's fastball heavy with 2 strikes. But put yourself in his shoes. He's coming off that outing back in San Francisco where he gives up that 4 spot, and everyone's like, well, he gave up, he scrimps, he hit the home run. Before that, when you watch that inning build up in the 4th, second time through the lineup, he gets to 2 strikes with ease like he does, man. That's just his bread and butter. He can just get to 2 strikes like no problem. And then guys are just cheating on that hitter, right? And base hit, and then the home run in an 0-0 count. Now, a couple things off that. 5th inning, comes back out, adjusts a little bit, gets through the 5th, no hassles. 6th inning, finishes strong. So when you watch someone get hit around a little bit, and then all of a sudden they want to then go to like plan B, plan C. We've seen Logan do this. We've seen Bryce definitely do it with all the different pitches. What I loved about Bryan Woo against the Texas Rangers, he throws 30 pitches, right? There's a ball drop next to Julio and Rayleigh out there in right center field. So you can get really frustrated, man, and you can kind of think to yourself, all right, they're sort of tracking that fastball way more now because of San Francisco had some success in that 1 inning against me. But this is what I love, man. He comes out in that 2nd, 3rd inning, gets the 2 strikes, no problems. He doesn't go to plan B, plan C. He literally just sharpens some of the weapons that he has, which is plan A, and that's the heater. He just made the fastball was just better. Both of them too. The 2-seamer was filthy. There was one punch out he had. I can't remember who the lefty was. Pitcher starts in and then just runs back out over the plate. And then just gets right to the top of the strike zone. Again, just from his point of view, there is times where I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm fastball heavy. All right, I have to start not reinvent the wheel, but come up with another weapon here because this team has adjusted against me. This league is starting to adjust against me. Oh, now I'm going to start to lose, some confidence in plan A. He didn't do that, and that was so impressive. Not to mention, I'll say it again, after that first inning where your pitch count is just chewed up, and then he goes 7. The guy just continues to impress me every single time he goes out. It's unreal.
He talked after the game just how he was able to work out of that first inning jam.
Yeah, you want to take, all the drama out of it and what's going on and just kind of focus on what you got to do and take it pitch by pitch and just, continue to execute. And, those situations, you got into it because you try to do too much. And so now you try to, peel the layers back and just get back to basics and, they'll strike 1, get ahead, pick your spots, and then go from there. So, obviously, like I said, not ideal, but you learn from it.
Like I said, super impressive. Obviously, he profiles different to Logan and Bryce. Logan was, that slider has been a little bit, iffy with him, and we saw that at times last year. He's going to be totally fine, I think. Bryce, I think Bryce getting through in the way he pitched, even with not having his best finishing stuff in regards to 2 strikes. But no, man, Bryan Woo, next level when you talk about how that fastball plays up to some of these hitters.
What have you seen out of Bryan? I mean, the rotation outside of that spot where Kirby has been problematic, obviously. Luis Castillo's looked really good.
He has.
He's looked. We haven't said much about him, but he's just kind of. I think we kind of take him for granted. Like, he's the seasoned vet. He's going to go out there and he's going to shove. He's going to be fine. He's not a guy who tends to go very deep, but he's been effective in his 3 starts so far. He's looked really solid. But Bryce Miller's the one that's came in with a lot of expectation. He's had a rougher go of it of those 4. Mm-hmm. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, I said this pre the Rangers start, and keep in mind too. I'll say this one little caveat when talking about Bryce Miller. You're coming into a situation where the Texas Rangers have hit you really hard, so you kind of see those jerseys and those visuals, same hitters. You're like, oh man, they got something on me here, for whatever reason. So I'll say that, but I think with him, it's I think in the back of his mind, he's heard Brian talk about trying to do too much. I just feel like with Bryce, he's just trying to do too much or make it a little extra with 2 strikes. Maybe because, the first outing he had, he's starting to throw this curveball more bigger, different breaking ball shape. And he punched a dude out. I can't remember who, maybe Soderstrom. Curveball down and in. It was nasty. And so you sometimes in the back, from his point of view, you feel like, oh, man, okay, that's that filthy pitch. If I can throw that and I'm capable of doing it, that's where I need to be. And so you strive for that, as opposed to with him. I think if he goes off the foundation of I'm just going to get really bad contact against these pitches, and that's what the split was last year, first half of the year. It was just a bad contact pitch. It wasn't this big swing and miss thing. It stayed in the zone a ton. If he goes back to that, I think he's going to be all right. I just feel like he's trying to do a little bit too much once he gets to good counts. And again, if you can get through 5 and just give up the minimal damage and not feel quite right with everything we just talked about, you're going to be fine. You're going to be totally fine. And then Luis Castillo, I spoke to Luis Castillo just the other day. I said to him, hey, can you please throw your changeup more? It's like my favorite pitch. Because it's like, dude, like that
Did
pitch
you say yes?
It's nasty. You know what he said? It was interesting. So his arm angle's shifted a little bit throughout the years. Now, a couple of years ago, he had that filthy changeup. He was fastball changeup. Didn't pitch at the top of the strike zone as much. And he said, what he said to me, he said, because we're going back and forth. I'm trying to summarize this because I don't want to drag it out. But he basically said, like, with his arm angle, it was kind of funky because his arm angle would change, ball would flatten out. And so he got away from that. He didn't want it in the heat of the moment where you got to come up with a big pitch. He just wanted to have that nice loose arm angle and release height. And not to get all nerd out about it, it was really interesting to hear that. I just wish, man, dude, he's throwing some filthy changeups.
Yeah.
And if they're going to stack lefties against him, dude,
his changeup has looked so good.
So good.
So good. All right. Part of what is perceived to be the future of this team, at least at third base, with the call-up of Ben Williamson. What do you think? You think it's a good move? What do you expect? I mean, everybody talks about his glove, which by everybody's estimation that's seen him. Now, we saw 2 games in spring training. He didn't play. Yeah. I don't have a ton to go on, firsthand, but, just in talking to everybody that's watched him, they're saying, oh, my goodness, his glove is beyond Major League ready. Mm-hmm. The bat is not. What you look at his minor league numbers, he's not a guy with pop. That's usually first and third. You generally look for somebody who can produce. You're looking for somebody with some pop there. Doesn't sound like he's that guy offensively speaking. Is it the right move?
Yeah, first of all, on the offensive side, it's one of these ones. It's like, are you just telling us that he's a really good contact / bat to ball guy, to give it to justify a reason for prospect status for offense? Or is he legit? Doesn't strike out much. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm curious at this level, like at the major league level, regardless of what he's done in the minor leagues. First of all, he hasn't played many minor league games. He's on like a short list of like 150 games or less played from the Mariners coming up. And there's some big names on that list, but he hasn't played much in the minor leagues. So it's I'm telling you, it's probably tough for the Mariners to have a full, legit gauge on what this kid can do offensively. Now, defensively, it's interesting because the Mariners kind of have put themselves in this corner of not having an option at third base that's a defensive help. And, so I love the fact he can play defense. I think on the offense, so put that aside, we'll see. I'm sure he's great defensively. Offensively, I always say this, man, like if you have a young player who profiles more of bat to ball, you know what? There's a way where you can generate more power, right?
Torpedo bat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just get the right torpedo bat and it's on. And I remember hearing Quan with the Cleveland Guardians talk about this. He's a contact first hitter. He's an average guy and he gets on base and he can cover a lot in the strike zone. Hits the ball to all different parts of the field. And he said, look, he tried it last year. When I'm ready to hit he's one of the elite hitters in the game.
Right.
But he said, when I'm ready to hit for power, I can. He said, I see guys come up that they're all power heavy, swing and miss, and then all of a sudden you get from AA, AAA, and then you're in the big leagues, man, you get exposed quick. So, in other words, I think that his skill set, I think he's going to be less exposed early. And if you need to add the power, I think it's easier. I know it sounds crazy. I think it's easier to add some more drive in that bat if he has the foundation of having more contact. If that's how he profiles, unless they're just saying, look, there's just not a whole lot of offense there. But he's a big dude, man. Like, you see him, like, I sat next to him, not like we're eating lunch. I'm saying I was by him when he was doing his interview. He's a
Right.
unit. He's not he's not a Dustin Ackley, if that makes sense. So trust me, there's definitely potential there for some pop.
Well, he's listed at 6 feet 210.
Yeah,
So-
dude, he's built, man.
Yeah.
He looks like you. He's built.
That's right. But I've got pop. I got thunder.
Can you hit? Bob?
yeah.
Really? Okay.
I was good, man. I was good. I'm curious how they're going to use him though. Like, what do you think?
Yeah.
What would you do? We make Ryan Rowland-Smith the manager. Dan Wilson takes a week off. You're in charge. He's up. He didn't play yesterday. He got called up, but he didn't play. Mm-hmm. Would you just spot him in there once every few games and let him get his feet wet? Would you just throw him in and sink or swim? How would you approach his development? Because you don't want to kill the kid's confidence.
Well, they're putting him in that category as being, one of these plus prospects that's a big priority, not a fill guy, not a guy who's just going to fill a spot. I think he's like their top 15 prospect, whatever he's at now. But so if that's the case, and traditionally. He's going to play every day. He's literally going to play until it gives him an excuse to put Miles Mastrobuoni at third base. Pretty much. Righties, lefties, probably a day off here and there. Right out the gates. Now, he didn't play yesterday because he just got there. They wanted him to take a breath, look around. They got Evaldi on the other side, plus he's going for the sweep, etc. Go to Cincinnati, hit his ballpark, and he's going to play tomorrow. And then he might go 0 for 4. He'll play again, 0 for 4. Play again, if that's what he does. So they're going to play him for sure. The guys like this who are in this sort of prospect status, high, that are priorities, don't come sit on the bench just because of what you said is the development. So I think you're going to see plenty of him.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he does out there. We've again heard so much about his defense, but just looking at his numbers offensively, I'm going, okay, is he? I don't know what a fair comp would be like. Is he going to be like what Josh Rojas was last year? 8 home runs and 30 some runs driven? I mean, you just didn't get any production. He was your best hitter for a while, Josh Rojas, in terms of just coming up with base hits, getting on base, but there wasn't a lot of production there. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering how is his glove going to make up for the lack of production he may have? Who knows? Maybe he turns it on and is a different bat at this level. We'll find out. But will the glove be enough to say, hey, it's worth it to have him out there, even though he's not a producer in the traditional way at third base?
Yeah, that's the whole thing of this, right? When you're looking down the line, like, look, Matt Chapman's got a really good glove, but guess what? He can rake.
Yeah.
He had the one down year. Where was that with the Blue Jays? Free agent year. Besides that, he absolutely rakes, but he's very good off defensively. Adrian Beltre raked. He was really good defensively. And when you're a top prospect, look, they don't all work out. I get it. But if the priority is, look, you're a big prospect, you're going to play every day, priority number one is offense. So I'm with you, man. Is it going to be this 230 with like 3 home runs? And you're like, hey, but guess what? You could dive in the hole and make a play. I don't think so. Look, we will see, and it's so tough. Like I said, he's the amount of games he's played in the minor leagues. You look at that. He's played 150 games, right?
Right.
It's not much. So it's very tough to go off in regards to what the patterns are going to be. But some guys change when you get to the big leagues. They get around a hitting coach, or they get inspired to be like, I'm just going to go out there and just prioritize power, and then things start to change. We will see, but he's going to get a lot of playing time. We'll see pretty quickly what this kid's made of. But dude, I'll say this one more time. He is not like Dustin. He's not built like Dustin Ackley. He's got a rig, man. He's a unit.
He's got a rig.
You know what I mean?
Haven't heard that before. He's got a rig. He's in shape.